Next item. Next item is, okay, I just ask for quiet as you exit, please. Next item is item number 14, SB 643. Mr. McGuire, Senator McGuire.
Thank you, Senator. As you set up, we'll ask that your witnesses make their way. We're ready for you. SB 643.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair. It is great to be with all of you today. Thank you for allowing me this opportunity to be able to present. I want to start out this afternoon, and we're getting to this evening, by thanking the chair, the committee, and the hardworking staff for such an excellent and thorough staff analysis. More than any other, this committee understands the urgent need for the legislature to act on medical marijuana, and your report makes some excellent points and recommendations related to the bill. And I also want to take a moment to acknowledge the chair, Mr. Bonta, for his excellent work on Assembly Bill 266. We are in active discussions with the chair and the co-authors of this bill, including Assemblymember Lackey. And I didn't want this opportunity to pass without taking a moment to thank Mr. Bonta, Mr. Lackey, and all the co-authors, as well as my incredible North Coast colleague, Assemblymember Wood, for his leadership on this important issue. And I look forward to continuing our discussions with all of you over the next several weeks.
Thank you, Senator.
Hey, thank you so much, sir.
Are we ready for your witnesses of support?
What's that?
Ready for your witnesses of support?
I was just going to...
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Hey, there we go. All right. I'm going to make it quick. I can see I'm in front of dinner. I will keep moving. Just very quickly, the North Coast District that I represent, along with Assembly partner, Assemblymember Wood, is the primary growing region for medical marijuana, with Mendocino, Humboldt, and Trinity counties responsible for up to 70% of the marijuana grown in the United States, Western United States, and the majority of the marijuana grown in the nation. And this is a rare concentration of an industry, and it brings both benefits as well as incredible challenges to our mutual communities, and especially to our environment, challenges that we are tasked to help solve this year. And since the voters, Mr. Chair, passed Prop 215 in 1996, medical marijuana cultivation and consumption has exploded, both here in the Golden State and around the country. Aside from local zoning regulations, this legal estimated $40 billion industry is virtually unregulated in the state of California. And for 2 decades now, the state has allowed this industry to grow, for the most part unchecked, and our communities, our environment, and the public's health has been severely damaged or is at risk. The current drought has only made the urgency of this legislation more necessary than ever, and marijuana grows range from small family farm operations, many of whom have farmed for decades, who want to comply with state and local regulations, if we actually had any, to violent international crime organizations that must be eliminated from the business. As I'm sure you've heard, entire watersheds have been dewatered, all in the name of these rogue marijuana grows. Tens of thousands of acres of marijuana are located on the beautiful North Coast, and the rogue growers are literally sucking rivers dry due to significantly decreased flow conditions because of the drought and illegal water diversions benefiting the vast fields of marijuana grows. Just this past summer, compounded by our state's historic drought, the Eel and Mattole rivers ran dry, threatening communities, nearly eliminating the fall and winter runs of endangered salmon, and putting wildlife on the brink of extinction, such as the forest-dwelling fisher. Northern and Central California watersheds have been inundated with sediment, poisons such as fertilizers and pesticides, and in fact, marijuana grows now are the #1 source of sediment and nutrient loads in Northern California rivers and streams. In addition, the violence with this industry has to be stopped. Because the state has looked the other way for so long, a significant criminal element has taken hold. And while the majority of growers in this state are involved in the industry, are law-abiding, organized crime has taken hold because we do not have regulation that oversees the industry. The city of Eureka, for example, where the great assemblyman from the North Coast and I represent. Eureka has 28,000 folks, and they have 6 times the violent crime rate compared to a city the size on the national level. The Humboldt and Trinity County District Attorney offices are facing significant trials on violence and homicide related to the industry. CAL FIRE. CAL FIRE will no longer respond to specific areas in our state. For example, Post Mountain in Trinity County and Rancho Sequoia in Humboldt County, they will no longer respond to wildland fires without law enforcement going in first. And once wild California forests have been booby-trapped with devices that look like they came off the front lines of a war zone, all in the name of protecting rogue marijuana grows. And these rogue operators have clear-cut thousands of acres of forest illegally, both on public and private lands, without regard for the long-term impacts they are creating for neighboring landowners, downstream farms, or endangered species. And Mr. Chair, I'm just going to show you a quick picture, and then I'm going to stop talking and be happy to answer questions. And I will open it up to the committee.
Thank you, Senator.
This here is in the corner of Mendocino and Humboldt counties. These are oak woodlands that were once robust, have now been illegally cleared by marijuana.
Senator, have you accepted amendments as recommended by the committee?
We do accept amendments, sir.
Thank you for acknowledging that.
Thank you so much. We're going to go to picture number 2. This here is what is left over from marijuana grows after a raid. There are no resources available to clean up these grows. And what you find are literally 3 or 4 miles of plastic pipe. What you find are human waste dumps, crude septic systems, and appliances that are out in the middle of the woods. This is an example of your typical illegal grow, where you have the pond that was once a stream that flowed to the Eel River. They will dam up the stream, dump the fertilizers into the pond, crudely build the dam. That dam will break. All the fertilizers that are within the water stream will get into the watershed and spread and kill endangered fish species. This here used to be a stream. So they just literally filled the creek in, put plants on top of it, and called it a day. And I think we have one more. And this is what you see in Northern California forests. A tripwire hooked to multiple shotgun shells. If you hit that tripwire, you're going to lose your leg. Or even worse, you may die. Mr. Chair, this is a robust bill that brings sweeping regulations to the medical cannabis industry. And I want to point out, the majority of cannabis growers in the North Coast want to be able to comply, if we had any regulations for them to comply to. I want to thank again Chairman Bonta, Mr. Wood, Mr. Lackey for all of their work. And I know that we're going to be working together here in the weeks to come on both sets of the bills. And as you had mentioned, Mr. Chair, we'll be taking the committee amendments. I will end my presentation, have a lot more to say, but I know that we're getting late, and I appreciate this opportunity to be able to present. It's good to see you, sir.
Okay, it's good to see you, too. Thank you, Senator. Witnesses in support. Yeah. Assemblymember Cooley.
Colleagues, I'm appearing actually as a witness in support of this bill. This work on medical marijuana regulation, on the environmental issues that are being tackled by Mr. Wood and this bill as well, a monumental work. The entire year has been involved in trying to reach out to all the various constituencies. Every member working on this issue, I think, has helped make sure that all the constituencies are indeed engaged in this conversation. The bills represent a package of ideas which really, having different vehicles out there, I think, has actually advanced the conversation and has clarified the choices. So this bill has been a part of sort of plowing this ground to kind of make progress. We had tremendous support in our House as we moved our bill forward, but it's playing an important role in the conversation. And on behalf of the good work of our Senate colleague, I just want to appear and express my support. Kennedy says to govern is to choose. That means you have to know the available choices. And the choices for this issue are much clarified by the bills moving currently, including Mr. McGuire's bill. So I'm just here to express support.
Thank you.
Thank you so much,
Further witnesses in support.
Mr. Chair and members, I don't know if I should be one of the two principal witnesses, Barry Broad with the Teamsters. I just want to say we are supporting this bill in principle. We'd like to see many of the provisions in Mr. Bonta's bill, which I understand Senator McGuire is agreeable to,
yes.
In particular a strong independent distribution system that's trackable by law enforcement, that is in Mr. Bonta's bill, and of course the labor protections that are in that bill. We believe that both houses are moving towards, a single, maybe in more than one bill, but a work product that can go to the governor and can hopefully be signed this year. So we thank you for the work you've done in this committee, moving Mr. Bonta's bill in this House, and we appreciate the work of Senator McGuire as well. Thank you, Mr. President.
Good afternoon. My name is Don Duncan. I'm the California Director of the Patients Advocacy Organization Americans for Safe Access, and we strongly support the goals of this legislation and the collaborative effort. So we hope to that end you'll move the bill forward today. Thank you.
Thank you. Further witnesses in support?
Karen Liggett, and I am in strong support of this bill. Thank you, Senator, and thank you all the others that are working on bills. I was threatened by a pot grower and a death threat if I didn't back off. And half of this is full of articles for you guys to look at if you guys would like.
Thank you very much. Further witnesses in support, name and organization only, please.
Hezekiah Allen, Emerald Growers Association. Thank you, Senator, for your work. We are in support. Thank you to all the other authors working on this one. I think Assemblymember Cooley hit the nail on the head. Urge your support today. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Danielle Lynch on behalf of California Trout in support.
Good afternoon. Amy Jenkins with Platinum Advisors on behalf of the California cannabis industry support and concept.
Thank you. Any other witnesses in support? Seeing none. Witnesses in opposition?
I turned it off.
There you go.
I knew it. My name is Lynette Davies. I'm with Crusaders for Patients' Rights based out of Sacramento, and I'm also with the California Cannabis Coalition, which has a 412,000 membership. I would like to, before I was in support if amended, but at this point we're going to have to take an opposition on this particular bill because of the impact that it is going to have on patients themselves. When we take a look at the bill, Senator McGuire brought up a lot of very good pictures and information about all of these illegal grows, but I think the key in that was that they're illegal grows. We need to enforce them with the laws that we already have on the books. And if we can't do that, making more laws, if we don't support them or actually go out and enforce them, isn't going to change things. What we're looking at as being in opposition of is one of the things is the transportation system that they have defined. In every other product, your farmer brings at least some of their product into market. This absolutely would make it illegal for any farmer to bring their own product into market. It does have a complete set of system that's going to be independent from the farming industry, and we would like to see something put in that if it went to a certain weight or a dollar amount, as you have in there for the $10,000, that may be a secondary transport system. But at this point, it allows no farmers the ability to transport their own product to market. It allows patients to grow for themselves, but it takes away their ability to have collectively set up a co-op or a collective agreement, which puts them at risk for legal problems. And if you have 5 patients who are collectively cultivating, they need to have a contract and be able to set themselves up as a collective co-op and grow in order to protect themselves from each other, believe it or not. And by taking that away, that also makes it at risk. Now, what you've done is by having 5 patients be able to grow together, they have no access of being able to take that market to a market by not allowing dispensaries at least to have a percentage that they can take to market from their own labor base or patient base. The labor peace agreement. Since when do we force a labor peace agreement on a market? That shouldn't be a forcible thing. It shouldn't be a part of a law. On edibles, they have to be individually wrapped under this bill. Individually wrapped is a cost. And not only does it do that, it goes as far as to give them, they have to have generic names. When do we say every chocolate bar has to be a chocolate bar, but we can't give it a name? So those are issues that when we're looking at this bill, it's overregulation. We do have a state identification card that's out there that we could use for purposes of identifying. We could expand on that, which would keep your costs down. And we think that this bill at this time is flawed to the point that it is not to protect a patient's rights. Thank you.
Additional witnesses in opposition?
Michael Green, on behalf of the President of Cannabis.
Thank you. Michael Green on behalf of the Fresno Cannabis Association. We oppose this bill unless amended. We applaud the author for bringing environmental concerns to the forefront. We would point out that the water board regulations in the North Coast region have not been finalized yet. We're informed that the Central Valley region will be next, and it's kind of premature to talk about environmental regulations because if you look at Fresno and the Central Valley, you basically have a sea of dispensary bans, outdoor growing bans, and within Fresno County itself, you have a total ban on all dispensaries and all forms of personal cultivation within the city and the county of Fresno, and now they're trying to get all the other cities in the county to play ball. If you want to regulate cannabis on a statewide basis, I would appreciate statewide regulation that has the force of law in all the cities and counties to allow cities and counties, all 400 plus of them in the cities, 58 counties, to make up their own rules, to opt out at will, and to do it in the name of the environment. I think we're really getting ahead of the curve here. We stand here in support of patients who have no access to lawful cultivation, no access to lawful dispensaries, and this bill and a similar bill would continue that trend. We ask you to stand with patients.
Thank you. Additional witnesses in opposition.
My name is Craig Barish. I'm the Chief Executive Officer for the California Cannabis Coalition. On behalf of 412,000 California voters, we strongly oppose it. Thank you.
Rich Miller, Health Education, Legal Patients' Rights, American Alliance for Medical Cannabis. At this time, we're pulling our support, but however, we would like to thank Mr. McGuire for all of his work, and we look forward to amendments. Thank you.
Dr. Molly Fry, and I am standing for all the patients that I've treated over the years. And this bill, as it currently stands, is not going to support the patients or the doctors, so I'm opposed to it. But I really appreciate that we're bringing it forward and we can fix it so that it does support patients and their health, which is the point.
Additional witness in support.
We have one more in support. Mr. Chair and members, Tim Cromartie on behalf of the League of California Cities, thank you for the opportunity to speak out of order. We support this measure in concept. We'd like to see it move forward. However, we believe that it should more closely mirror AB 266 in a number of areas, chief among them provisions that provide a carve-out for the City of Los Angeles due to its local regulatory protocol, Measure D.
Thank you.
Holly Fermini on behalf of the United Food and Commercial Workers Union, also in support. We were as an amended, but it looks like the next version of the bill is going to have some workforce protection provisions in it. So thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no additional witnesses in opposition or support, questions or comments from members? Assemblymember Ridley Thomas.
Yes, Senator, you and I spoke just recently about my concerns. Los Angeles County is the home of a city that has more stringent regulatory provisions than proposed under your scheme. Half of the people that live in Los Angeles County live in Los Angeles City, roughly, and I suspect that the voters of the jurisdiction of the Board of Supervisors may potentially choose to have a rather stringent scheme on dispensaries and medical marijuana. Thusly, I would encourage you strongly to make sure that this measure and the companion measure, and the chair is aware of my concerns, and I think your co-author, your work group are, that Los Angeles County enjoy the same carve-out as the city of Los Angeles. And I would like that to be stated on the record and to be explicitly clear. Thank you.
Through the chair?
Please, Senator.
Thank you so much. I do appreciate the Assembly member and had a great conversation with him earlier today. And I appreciate you pointing out we do respect Measure D within this current piece of legislation as requested by the League of Cities and the City of Los Angeles. And what I had said to the Assembly member is that when we continue these discussions with the Assembly and all the authors, that I know Mr. Assemblyman, this is going to be a point that is going to be brought up and have robust discussions. So I give you my word that we're going to continue that discussion related to Los Angeles County. The reason why we're looking at Measure D is because it was a voter-approved initiative, but that is an issue of my word that will continue the discussion regarding the County of Los Angeles. Thank you.
Thank you, Assemblymember Patterson, then Assemblymember Burke.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ms. Tanner, you don't need to convince me about the necessity of regulating this. I represent Central California and Sierra Nevada, so I could show you pictures like that
Yes,
over
sir.
and over again. I will tell you my fundamental concern here.
Please.
I voted for AB 266, and one of the compelling reasons for that was the explicit support of law enforcement. I notice in at least our analysis of this bill that law enforcement is not supporting your bill.
No, sir. We've intentionally not taken on any supporters. So, in being candid, what we saw last year that moved through the state legislature is that it was difficult to be able to drive a consensus bill when you had one side supporting and one side not. So, for example, if you had law enforcement, there may be opportunities where you don't have cannabis farmers, vice versa. So what we've intentionally done, and it was a different strategy from last year, is we intentionally did not take on supporters of the bill. I will tell you, we work almost weekly with Cal Chiefs, and we are in constant contact with Cal Chiefs, and I encourage you to go talk with them. They're in our office at least once a week right now, along with the League of Cities.
I appreciate the strategic approach to it, but it does not compel my support. It in fact raises significant concern over the content of your bill. Without law enforcement coming to these microphones or coming to my office and explaining to me why they were in support of one and not of the other, sure, is a great concern for me.
Well, I think that it's also important to point out is that, Mr. Cooley, when he had his original bill, he did have Cal Chiefs in support. And the reason why you're able to support 266 is because the two bills merged. And that is the discussion that we're currently having right now between the Assembly and the Senate. And I think that what we need to do is work together in a bipartisan effort to be able to either look at mirror bills, each individual author takes a portion of the issue and brings them forward, or you merge the bills. And what I would hope to be able to share with you, Mr. Assemblyman, here in the next few weeks is that we're going to be able to show you that law enforcement is going to be in support. But I just think it's an important distinction to be able to point out. 266 had law enforcement support because they merged the bills prior to going to the Assembly floor. And that's the conversation we're having now when each of the bills move towards each of the houses. So tomorrow, 266 will be heard in two committees in the Senate. I will be having a conversation with Mr. Bonta this evening about our bills. I talked with Mr. Wood this morning about our bills. And you're absolutely right. Do we have law enforcement formally on? Not right now. But what I will tell you is we meet with law enforcement every week. I'm the only non-police officer in my family. My father is a retired San Francisco police officer. My uncle is a retired DEA agent. My cousin, who's like a brother to me, is a detective sergeant in Santa Clara. And my uncle is a retired lieutenant with San Jose PD. So law enforcement, it's really impersonal to me because it's my family. And I will tell you, we're working on it. And I hope to be able to come to you in the next few weeks to show you that law enforcement will be supportive of this package that will be moving forward.
I appreciate it. I will tell you that the degree to which your bill departs from AB 266 creates significant concerns for me. And in fact, if you merge and weaken, I can't support it.
And I will tell you, there is no reason why we would ever weaken. I think that 266 is an extremely strong bill. I think that the bill that we have right now in front of you is also strong. But what we need to show is that both houses are going to be able to work together on this important issue. For 19 years, we've turned our head. And I think this is the year that we can come together in the Assembly and the Senate to be able to bring forward a practical bill that will finally bring the promise of regulation that was made 19 years ago after 215 passed, finally follow through with the voters and bring forward these sweeping regulations. So I promise you, sir, the conversations are happening right now. I think that I would hope that we're going to be able to put personalities and politics aside and work through this issue so that we have one set of bill package that will be advancing or one formal bill. And we need to be able to make sure that Cal Chiefs are also on board as well. And that is why we are meeting with Cal Chiefs. And again, I encourage you to do your reference checks on me. Go check with Cal Chiefs and confirm that we're talking with them on a weekly basis.
Appreciate it. I object a bit to the suggestion that there are personality. I think I don't know why you have to do a separate bill than AB 266. We sent over you a really good bill. Why can't you just accept that, amend some of it, send it back over? Why is it that we're getting into this sort of silly wrestling match over it, and why I'm supposed to accept your bill absent law enforcement support, but I have AB 266 with.
There's absolutely no wrestling match. And in fact, this is how the legislative process should be working, is that we should be... Well, and I just want to... I'm not lecturing, but my final point would be, the reason why I brought forward this bill is because the majority of marijuana in this nation is grown in the district that I represent. And I meet monthly with the sheriffs of our district, the police officer associations of our district, along with Assemblymember Wood, because it's a public safety issue, and we're bringing incredible environmental degradation to the Northern California environment. And that's why I bring forward this bill, sir.
Assemblymember Burke.
So listen. I love the idea of both houses working together quite clearly, but I do have one question about Measure D, and my question is, Los Angeles being exempt from the bill actually brings up questions for me because we went through an experience where we were inundated with dispensaries, and I'm just curious why we exempted Los Angeles instead of made the issues in the bill more stringent.
Yeah, so early on, you're absolutely right, Assemblywoman. I think there's something like 1,400 or 1,500 unregulated dispensaries that have opened up in the greater Los Angeles area. Its reason being is they came to us and wanted to be able to develop a local fix. And that's what Los Angeles had really pushed, is trying to be able to develop their own solutions. But what I'll share with you, Assemblywoman, is that all of this is in discussion right now with the Assembly, and if there are concerns, would love to be able to work with you on those.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Dr. Wood.
Yeah, I just want to thank the senator for his work on this issue. This is obviously a very personal issue for both of us, coming from the same general area, although admittedly my district's a little smaller than yours. This is a huge issue for us on the North Coast, and it is a huge issue for California. I think that there is a sincere commitment on everybody who's working on this issue to protect the rights of patients. However, that doesn't mean that we should not be regulating an industry that has not been regulated virtually at all. And certainly from an environmental perspective, it has not been regulated at all. So, I look forward to continuing to collaborate with you, because I think that's how we're going to get this across the finish line. And my hope is that we actually get a product that can actually be supported by both houses and the governor to move this issue forward. It's, as I've said in committee, we have kicked the can down the road far too long, and we're running out of road, quite frankly. So I thank you for your attention to this issue and working on it, and look forward to continuing to work with you.
Thank you for your partnership, Assemblymember Wood. Very grateful.
Additional comments or questions from members? Seeing Assemblymember Gomez.
Senator, thank you for bringing this bill forward. It's and I understand why it's such a local issue for you. The area you represent is very intertwined with the industry, and it's But at the same time, there are some issues that I'm concerned with from just my perspective, and also understanding the other bill. But I do agree that this bill has to move forward, and I hope you, and I know you will, negotiate in good faith, trying to reach a compromise. There's always tussles, right? As Chair of Appropriations, I played a role in the Assembly bill getting out, but we have to put aside, and I think the authors of the last bill of 266 really showed that they understand that they have to do what's best for the interests of California, and that's why you see this fine balancing act within that other bill. And I think that we can reach a dual house solution to this problem. But I'm gonna vote for the bill. I was gonna lay off, but I'm gonna vote for the bill. But knowing, just to kind of let you know that we'll be paying close attention as this bill comes to appropriations on my side. And I know that everybody wants to solve this problem. Yes, almost 20 years is a long time to fail to act. And I'm proud of this institution because the Assembly has taken some bold steps. The Senate's taken bold steps, and hopefully we will finally get this resolved. And so I'm going to vote for it, but I just want to kind of stress that at first I was inclined to abstain, but I'm going to, because I feel that you're showing good faith and working with the assembly members that put forth the other piece of legislation, and I will, for that reason, I will also vote for it.
And I just, through the chair, I just want to say thank you, Assemblymember, for one, I can only imagine what you face in appropriations. And you have my commitment. Number one goal is to do what's best for California. And I think you hit the nail on the head. Over the last 3 weeks, both staffs from the Assembly and the Senate have been working to try to drive that collaborative effort. And what I would hope is the bill that you see coming to your committee would be either a package of complementary bills, one bill, but we're all working together. And you have my commitment, sir. Thank you.
Additional comments or questions from members? Okay, thank you. Seeing none. Senator McGuire, I just want to thank you for your courage and commitment in addressing this very difficult issue. As you said, for 19 years we have not had an appropriate regulatory regime for medicinal cannabis in the state of California. This is a year where I think we can get it done. So thank you for taking the amendments. Thank you for your contributions that you've made through the introduction of your bill on an area that's not only important to the state, but I know very important to you for your Senate district. So thank you for your leadership. This bill takes some different approaches than AB 266, and in full disclosure, I'm a joint author of AB 266, along with some of my colleagues, as you well know, but for others who may not. And there's some areas where you defer to regulatory bodies to create solutions. In our bill, we provide the solutions in the bill. So different approaches, and that's part of the conversation. I think the discussion should continue. And for that reason, I'm recommending that your bill pass out of our committee, and I'm going to support it and vote for it today. I do think that we're nearing a point where we need to have some really important discussions with one another about how this is going to proceed. I've seen multiple times where authors with the best intentions have actually gotten each other's way and not provided the solution that California deserves. So I hope we can avoid that this year, which is an important year, and I'm looking forward to working with you and getting to that solution. So thank you again, Senator McGuire. Would you like to close?
Thank you so much. And in all sincerity, Mr. Chair, I greatly appreciate your leadership. And I think that both yourself, the co-authors, along with Mr. Lackey, along with Mr. Cooley, Mr. Jones-Sawyer, have set the standard. And I'm grateful to have the opportunity to be able to work with all of you, along with Assemblymember Wood. And I do want to thank Mr. Cooley for his leadership as well. Just a few cleanup items, Mr. Chair, is that we will be finding common ground with the UFCW and the Teamsters. And then finally, on just some items that were brought forward, we do respect the local plant counts that each county has. So if a county does allow for a cooperative grow, we do allow that. In regards to edibles, the reason why we're looking at individually wrapped is because that's state health code, and that we need to be able to advance that unless otherwise specified. And finally, the issue with the water board, we're working directly with the regional board along with the state water board to be able to look at comprehensive principles and rules and regulations so that you don't have to guess no matter what county you're in. Again, I am so grateful to be here today. Thank you for the opportunity to be able to present, and I look forward to working with all of you in the weeks and months to come. And thank you so much for this opportunity.
Thank you, Senator McGuire. The committee can entertain a motion. We have a motion. We have a second. The motion is due pass as amended to appropriations. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Bonta?
Aye.
Bonta, aye. Mainshine? Aye. Mainshine, aye. Bonilla? Burke? Aye. Burke, aye. Chavez? No. Chavez, no. Chu? Gomez? Aye. Gomez, aye. Gonzalez? Hernandez? Lackey? Aye. Lackey, aye. Nazarian? Patterson? No. Patterson, no. Ridley Thomas? Rodriguez? Santiago? Aye. Santiago, aye. Steinnorth? Aye. Steinnorth, aye. Thurmond? Aye. Thurmond, aye. Waldron? Wood? Aye. Wood, aye. 9-2.
The current vote count is 9-2. You need one more to get out of committee. The bill is on call. Thank you again, Senator McGuire.